Hi, everybody, it's Peg, and this was recorded on the 29th of August. And today on Art Joy is Sharing live show, Chelsea and I were making greeting cards. Now, I know a lot of you do greeting cards, but Shell and I have our roots in greeting cards. She started out with Stampin' Up. I started out just doing greeting cards and teaching greeting cards in local craft stores and through continuing education classes at the community college. So, I've had a history doing this sort of thing for a long time. Just haven't done it. When I did my video the other day showing a tour of some of my crafty spaces, there were a lot of comments about the number of stamps that I have. Yes, this is a lifetime's accumulation. And when I first started receiving rubber stamps, and they were rubber, they were not silicone or any of these other things that they're making them out of now. They were all rubber stamps and they were mounted on wood blocks. And so that's kind of where I got my feet wet. Now I love rubber stamps. Number one, the image is much crisper than you get with the silicone stamps. They hold up better over the long period of time. You can see that I've had my collection for well over 30 years, and they hold up. As long as you keep them out of daylight and treat the rubber kindly, you will have your stamps for a lifetime. So I'm using some nuance on the background here. I just want to create some colorful backgrounds for these die cuts. Now, this is another thing that I love. These die cuts come from a company here in Iowa, and I go and do their show each fall, just help out with what they're doing in Des Moines, Iowa. It's called Stamp Joy is the show, if you're interested in attending a stamp show. And because I work the show, they give me some credit, and I'm able to get some of these dies and, stamps and whatever I want from them for having worked. So I really like this mandala style die cut. It makes a very pretty card. It cuts out the shape, and I'm just going to trim it out to mount on my card front. And I'll, add a sentiment or something and make a card out of it. So, it's just that fast, just that easy to create with dies and stamps. And it's always nice to have greeting cards on hand. Shell and I like the handmade process, so it doesn't take that long to create a greeting card. Here I am embossing. I'm using. There was some discussion in the chat about the powder bag, and I guess some people make their own using old socks and talcum powder and whatever, and make a powder bag. I have these bags that I've had forever. One is like the kind that Ranger Ink sells, which is just the puff bag filled with talc. And the other is a container, brush container from EK Success, depending on, how you want to apply it. And you can refill that one, which I like. But, if you don't have those things, keep some baby powder on your desk and just sprinkle a little bit on and brush it off. It just helps remove the oils and the static cling from the paper that you're using. So I'm going to go back to my nuance powders because I love the vibrancy of these. One of the nice things about making greeting cards is that you can use water-soluble things. It's a greeting card, folks. It's only going through the mail, and unless you expect it to sit out in the rain, it should make it there okay, or, onto a gift package or however you're delivering your card to somebody. And I love these backgrounds, these watercolory, intense color backgrounds. So I want to use my water media that I have around. I do use them in my journals, but I have watercolor journals that I use them in. And it's not appropriate for all kinds of things like canvases and such unless you're going to really seal them because, yeah, it will move. As soon as you get it wet, it's going to move. But look at the beautiful, vibrant colors that you can get. And what great backgrounds for a card start, right? I mean, yeah, you can go to the store and you can buy pre-printed papers and all of that, but I really like the handmade look of these, and just by adding a simple die cut or a stamp or, something else to that, you can have one-of-a-kind original cards that are going to your friends. So this die cut, yeah, I decided I didn't want to have you guys sit and watch me weed a die cut, but that's basically what you do is you get a pokey tool and you knock all that stuff out. And I had tried cutting two at once. Normally you only cut one sheet of paper with a thin die like that. The thicker dies are great. They will go through chipboard. They will go through just about everything. So, if you're interested in cutting thicker materials, you probably want some thicker dies. But I'm just going to mount this background, cut this cardstock down a little bit, and use my two-way glue. This is a glue pen that stays tacky, and you can get it on there. And yeah, I realized once I put it down, oops, got it trimmed out, but guess what? It's on backwards, and since my glue is still wet, I can pick it up and turn it around. So that's one advantage of using a wet glue over, something that's a dry adhesive that gets stuck, and then you're really stuck in a bind. And then I decide, oh, I probably need a bow or ribbon or something to, embellish that with. So I'm searching through the one drawer of ribbons that I have left. I purged most of that sort of thing because I really don't make a lot of the foo-foo cards anymore. And I figured one box of ribbon should be enough for anybody in a lifetime, right? So taking a glue dot, sticking that bow down on the top front, and putting a signature space on the back, so that people know that those are handmade cards. They know that you created it, that you spent your time uh, creating something special for them. I'm looking at these cards that I got from Michael's, and I'm not real happy with the cardstock, but it's in my stash. I probably got it for the black paper, and yeah, I'll work with it. I'll do what I have to do to make it work. So I'm just going to stamp this image on the outside of my envelope so that it kind of matches what's on the inside. Move on. I've got some more die cuts that are stamped and die cut. These are some more Tailored Expressions stamps and dies. And I'm just going to glue that on to a card front. These are papers from Hero Arts cardstock, which is a much nicer cardstock. It has a texture to it. It's almost like a bamboo look to the paper. It's really pretty. And then I reach for my other water-soluble pens, which are these, are they? Well, they're watercolor in a pen. I'll put some links down below. Maybe I'll remember. So I just want to put a little bit of color on these calla lily. Calla lily, that's my daughter's favorite flower, calla lily. I bet she can grow them now. They moved to a warmer climate, so they probably are able to do that. Zig clean color markers, that's what they are. Gee, I tell you, some days my brain just does not engage with my mouth. So Zig clean color, and then I decided I want the glass base to look like glass, so I'm going to use some diamond glaze, any dimensional adhesive, glossy accents, diamond glaze. I know there's any number of them on the market. I think Stampin' Up! Has one too. I know any of the companies are going to have dimensional adhesive. So, moving on, I have a stamp set. I think this is from Gina K. And I like it a lot because it has sentiments that you can arrange the way you want to. I'm just showing, this is my little stamping tool. And I'm arranging how I want my stamps in here. Now, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with these silicone stamps. They don't want to stay where I want to put them. And so I'm using some Versamark ink because it stays wet, and I'm going to emboss these with some black embossing powder. I think the black against the blue is really going to stand out. And I could go through my drawer. I've got any kind of embossing powder you ever wanted, but this was out on my desk, so that's what I decided to use. Copper would have been pretty. I've got brass. I've got all kinds of navy blue and beautiful embossing powders, but yeah, basic black is okay by me today. Then I'm looking at this and I want to position my sentiment on here. And so by putting it on my card, figuring out where I want those two stamps to stamp out on that cardstock, and then I can ink it up with the Versamark, stamp it down, coat it with the embossing powder, and heat set it. And that's pretty much it from us today. I'll give you some final shots. Be sure and go over and check out Shell and Art Joy Sharing on Facebook, because we have a lot more coming out this fall, this September. We've got a hop coming. We've got shout outs to other channels, and that'll be it from me. So bye for now.